Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 167 of Kouryer podcast. Our today's guest is Mr. Yonghao Zhang. He's a freelance concept artist from Vancouver, Canada, based in New York now. With that quick introduction out of the way, let me just quickly say that in the captions you can check his Instagram and ArtStation link as well. So if you want to go check more of his stuff out, you can do so. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the first question that I ask every guest. Give us a little introduction on how you got into the world of visual arts and design. Basically, what event was that made you realize, oh, I want to become an artist? You know?
Oh, actually, interesting question. I don't actually remember, to be honest. I think most people probably started drawing when they were young, but then I started I mean, I think everyone did a little bit of art growing up, and I guess I did do that, and then I didn't really find out until like grade 10, maybe when I was like 15, 16. I think I was really into concept art at the time, and my parents weren't too happy with it. So then in the end, I ended up doing like architecture as kind of like a happy medium between kind of art and business. So that's what I'm doing as my major now. But I mean, I still have some, I guess, hopes and dreams of, well, not really, but concept art is cool. So I just do it as a hobby, I guess.
Yeah, I get it, and I mean that's so cool that you managed to reach to a certain good level at both like architecture and you actually got a job. You said in New York in an architecture studio, right?
Yeah. So with architecture school, it's pretty tough. It's 5 years, and then usually you also need to get a license to get a job, like in the future to work as a licensed architect. But then during the summers, generally students look for internships to build up their experience and build up their hours. Um, so yeah, I'm doing that, and then yeah, concept art is just something I'm doing on the side right now. I guess I actually don't really want to work in the gaming industry that much, to be honest. But I think I'm very interested, like a different like perspective than a lot of people, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a kind of awesome. I think there's like these are kind of like relatively rare cases when someone's like actually makes does their best to make good art that they like, and other people of course like but also are like professional in another field. Is kind of quite a rare case because most people don't have that drive and motivation to even build up a portfolio in one area, right, let alone two areas like you did. And like the other thing was like there was other person, and he's actually a super successful artist as well. I forgot his name and username as well, but he's, I think, has 125k followers on Instagram, and he's an actually psychologist or therapist from France, I think. I
Yeah.
think, I don't know if you know him or not, but yeah, he's one of another example that's really caught my eye once. And and
Yeah,
of
I don't know. I think my love of art just comes from like, I guess, just deep passion for it, I guess. Like I keep joking that I want to conquer all the art forms because then like on the side, I'm also learning some like product design and some fashion design. Like I literally want to do like all the, like I'm trying to get into 3D and sculpting and all that stuff too. So I don't know. I guess it's fun for me. Like I get bored of one thing really quickly, so I gotta switch up.
oh, that's interesting. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the same boat because I love to like. Here's like three major cliches I see people usually. There's one stereotype and cliche where someone's like, oh, when I was a kid, I started drawing. Then when I was in high school, I saw this video game. I like the concept arts. I like the characters, and I become a character concept artist. So, like that's like a relatively cliche trope that you see a lot. When
Yeah,
they quickly and easily find their niche that they love. All right, there's one, and there's
yeah,
other one that's. That people they're like, oh, I like art, I like the cool, but everything looks cool, but I don't like I don't know what to start. I don't necessarily like any of them, but I know I like art. They're not that much, but they exist. But there's a
yeah,
third one, which I, by the way, is I'm in that category as well, where they're like, oh my god, I love art and I love all of it, and you're like
yeah,
smiling and happy. I'm like, oh fuck, which one should I start first? Then after
yeah,
a while,
yeah,
you just start having fun, and you start experimenting a bit with all of them, and a couple of years pass and you're like, oh, why can't I make money? Oh, because I'm not professional at anything. So there's like this whole thing of becoming a main knower of many things but master of none type of stuff. But I mean, that only counts if you're not doing it for fun and you actually want to get a job at an industry. But if you're like doing it for fun, for the passion of it, for the hobby of it, you shouldn't really consider that.
Yeah, yeah. For
And
me, it's kind of weird. So then, like, I do want to get into the industry, but only for an internship. So then, like, ever since I was grade 10, I just love League of Legends. So then I wanted to get into the Riot internship, but then basically after I get in, I'm just like, that's it. I don't want to do like because I imagine making skins for a living. Like that just I don't know.
yeah,
That for
I
me sounds really
100% understand
unappealing.
what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
But
it's not really design anymore for me. Like um, yeah, I got rejected from the Riot internship this year. A really tough competition, but I think like my chances are pretty good. So I think next year I'll probably get in. And then so I'm working towards that. And then
oh yeah, I remember one of the times I contacted you, you said something about that. You were kind of
yeah, I
busy
was
with that.
grinding my portfolio for the Riot internship. I was so I do a lot of like for me, I think one of the fastest way I improved was I had like a lot of really good teachers, and one of the people that I was working with last semester was Q Fang. Do you know him? He's like I'll type
No,
in the chat. He's
yeah,
like
thank.
a Blizzard concept artist, very very
It
kind of
sounds
famous
familiar,
in the industry.
but yeah, sounds really
Awesome,
familiar.
awesome stuff. But he was coaching me through like my um, three portfolio pieces, like a Valorant agent, a League champion, and like a champion rework. Yeah, and then I had like another really great mentor before that. His name is Josh Sung. You can find his here. You know what? I can just link his Instagram.
Wait, Josh Sanga or Sung?
Oh yeah, he went on your podcast, I
Yeah, yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. But I was
Yeah,
like, wait,
he's
I know
awesome.
that guy.
He's
Yeah,
awesome. He's
yeah,
awesome.
his design stuff is awesome as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like I think last summer I was just grinding portfolio pieces with him. And he just helped me like a bunch. Like he's really got away with like creativity and how to think and stuff. And I think like once you start like understanding the differences between art forms and you start doing different art forms, like you start to like kind of take parts from each of the disciplines that you like and kind of combine together. I think that's how you actually create like really unique art, I guess.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
yeah. For me, like I have like a lot of criticism towards a lot of things because I'm personally very harsh on myself as well. But um, like a lot of stuff nowadays is like very very generic, and then like in order to kind of break that genericism, like you have to. I think it comes from people being too narrow-minded, like only looking at concept art for inspiration, that kind of stuff. Like you gotta like broaden your horizon. That's kind of my opinion.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And wait, in terms of mindsets, we're kind of really similar because when you said like, doing skins for life, like, yes, exactly. I mean, that I felt that about graphic design when I first tried to
Mm,
get into art. I was like, you know what? I guess all right, that's a good bridge. It's this guy made a logo for $500. Oh, I'm gonna get into graphic design. That's like actually one of the common cliches as well in art when
yeah,
people love art but they're not sure or that they want to jump in. They feel unstable about it, so they go
yeah,
through
yeah.
say like supposed safer routes for of graphic design and other stuff like that. And I
Mm,
like doing logos for a lifetime. I don't know, maybe for some people is fun, or even brand identity, like even web design and stuff. Like I don't like that. I want to be
oh,
creative as
jeez.
much as possible.
Yeah.
Like that's like let me give you this example. Like if we make it, let me give this analogy, like carpentry. All right, working with wood, making stuff out of wood. All right, making
Mhm.
MDF cabinets to me is like graphic design and front end development, but making statues and cool artifacts is like the actual art that I like.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
one of my favorite like art forms in general, art medias that I really enjoy is 3D because you can do a lot in it. And of course, I'm not saying that I don't like 2D or anything. It's just my jam more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get that for sure.
And about like actually I want to say something like in your portfolio pieces you said you sent your portfolio by portfolio, for example, for Riot. Do you need to like 15 to 10 years ago you need to make a book of your portfolio and send it to them, or you can just send a link to your art
Oh no,
station?
no, it's just ArtStation nowadays.
Oh.
Like I don't think anyone looks at like books, but architects do, but
Yeah.
concept art definitely doesn't.
Yeah, and here's
Um,
the thing: like you have a lot of pieces on the art session. So I heard a lot from a lot of people that you need to have like very few pieces on as a junior on your portfolio. But
but
in the
I've never heard that before.
yeah, actually, I heard that before. Like like I actually talked to Laura Gallagher. She's like a pro, and I think she's kind of retired somehow from like modeling. She's now coaching like a studios actually how to help the big studios how to develop and cultivate their like character modeling artists. And she basically told me that if you want to get into the industry as a junior, you need to have at maximum 2 to 3 pieces on your portfolio. You can do like
Mm.
those long pieces on your art station, and like basically she told me to keep it as low as possible, but those pieces should be like perfect, because
Uh,
you only get like a couple of seconds to get that catch the eye of the person who's like looking at your works. I mean, that's kind of right, but and
I don't know. I feel like that's kind of terrible advice, but yeah, whatever. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not working in the industry.
no, I mean, because here's the thing. Of course, like it all depends on a lot of factors. Like if you have like a couple of awesome works as your like if you have like 15 works on our session, like the last 2 to 3 of them are like super awesome. Of course, I mean, if they're really awesome, people are like, all right, I want to talk to this guy more for the interview and stuff like that. I mean, that's the case. But
Mm.
usually, the more I talk to artists, the more I hear that if you have a lot of works, if you're working for, if you want to apply for a junior position, usually it starts with like really low pieces, but super like do your best, like put your soul in them. But if you're, for example, want to apply for like higher positions, like senior for other places or stuff like that, try to like um, if you want to put multiple pieces, like try to rate your own pieces in terms of quality and like put the cup first best, like the first 2 or 3 as your last ones, so at the top they see the best ones. Then
Mm.
put the like the four, fifth, sixth on the bottom. So make it a sandwich, like from like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
top bottom. So the middle part will become relatively your mediocre pieces, relatively, of course, we're speaking,
Uh,
because that's basically like a psychological trick. Yeah, I heard
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of things
yeah.
about different people and artists, but in general, for juniors, I heard a lot that you should keep it low. And actually, I was building on my portfolio recently on
Yeah.
ArtStation, and I realized, when I showed it to her, I actually sent my portfolio to her. She told me, all right, here's the thing. You, and I also knew, by the way, on ArtStation, you can't delete pieces unless you're a paid monthly subscriber to ArtStation for some reason. And
Oh, what?
yeah, actually, you can do that. Like, if you want to delete one of your pieces right now on ArtStation, you can't unless you pay monthly to ArtStation, like $10 or 12. I don't know how much the price is.
Weird.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, wait, I can't do that, and I'm not gonna pay that much for like deleting my stuff. So I just deleted my art station and started a new one, so I can, once I actually
Yeah.
cultivated and grinded those, portfolio pieces and reached like a couple of fine ones, I put those on as well.
I feel like that's advice for people who don't have enough time. Like, because I have both like in-depth pieces, but I also do a lot of pieces just to show my diversity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Like,
awesome.
I, I don't know. I mean, obviously, all your pieces should be like portfolio quality, but I'm not really sure about the. Are they looking for like the depth of pieces, like having a lot of like iterations and like abilities, or like kind of that kind of stuff?
No, not necessarily.
Uh,
It's about like having actually a couple of pieces that, like, a couple of few pieces that, when the thumbnail catches the eye of the person that's like looking at your portfolio, gets intrigued and wants to see maybe you put the process down in
mm,
the post or stuff like that. But those ones that should be on your portfolio should be like top notch. I mean, of course, yeah. I mean, it's good to add variety to your stuff, but I think it's mostly like this advice. I think it's mostly for juniors.
mm.
So yeah, I'm sure
I
she
have no
basically meant to
idea.
do that.
Like
And
my portfolio is just like I literally just kind of just post whatever. Like I think that as a whole it looks pretty good, but I've never heard that before.
yeah,
It's
actually,
interesting.
yeah, maybe I don't know. It's just another perspective, but you should also, I think, ask like other people who've coached you as well, to get their opinion as well, to see
Yeah,
what
I
they
mean,
think about that.
yeah,
Because that could be
my
interesting.
mentors right now, like they don't really say anything about that, I guess.
Hmm,
So that's
maybe it's not that much
yeah.
of a
I'm
big
also
deal.
doing
I don't
another
know.
mentorship right now. It's with an artist called Gu Yang. Maybe I'll just link his art station. So I have class with him at 12. That's what that's going on. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and Yeah, that's kind of interesting. But by the way, here's an interesting thing. The work that caught my one of your works that caught my eye. I think one of the pages, like one of the League of Legends pages, like reposted it was the Zaunite, like singed one. I
Oh
think.
yeah,
Yeah, that one
it's a
looks actually
Singe rework.
sick. Like that's actually
Thank you, thank you.
looks good, really
Do
good.
you play League?
Oh yeah, I used to, but yeah, I kind of
Okay.
gave that up for my sanity.
Yeah, I started working on the piece before Arcane came out, and Arcane came out during. So then a lot of people were commenting like that this looks nothing like the character.
Like, bro, that's a skin.
I was
That's a
like saw him like
variation. Like, come on.
because on in the lore he was like more of a chemist. Like he did a lot of like things with gas, and then Arcane made him more like a biologist. Like he was like
Yeah.
mutating stuff. So then I went with a completely different like approach to the rework. So that was interesting.
No, but honestly, I think I don't know. There's like, maybe, and here's the thing in general, whenever I get into something, I get super deep, especially about lore of games. So, I've been deep in the lore of League for a long while, but not that much in a couple of months. But I think
Mm.
in the Arcane, they're going to later on expand it to Noxus areas because there was,
Yeah, for sure.
that I forgot Mel was her name. Mel's mom came. She was from
Yeah.
Noxus, and they probably going to war with Ionia or something later on. I don't know. Maybe they leave it as a cliffhanger at the end of the season 2, and Singe changes to the Singe that we know. And yes, yeah, there's so many theories actually going on.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. Speaking of LoL, who are your mains?
I've been switching around, I guess. Mostly right now, I've been playing a lot of Akali, Aurelia, and Zeri. I like the kind of like faster champions. I don't really like the
High
one shot.
mobility,
Yeah, I like high mobility. I like hitting people over and over again, and they can't hit me back. That's kind of
like
fun for me.
Camille
Kind of
or
dance around
Fiora,
them.
right?
That's more like you keep hitting them, but then they can still hit you back. But then like with Akali, you kind of spin around, go into shroud, and they literally can't touch you. Or like Lilia. I play a lot of Lilia. Um, yeah, those kind of champions are fun for me.
No,
I don't know.
usually, for me, basically, like I'm gonna say overall, the heroes I played the most were like Tristana, Teemo, and
Mm.
Nasus. Like basically, I love Yordles, by the way, but in general, like
Oh
they're
yeah.
my favorites. And the thing is, like in games, I after a while I get bored of the meta that I should be playing, then I go off meta. Like
Oh yeah.
like
Sure.
at the last times I played League a couple of months ago, I was playing. I'm not kidding you, AD Aurelion Sol. I just unlocked it as a meme, and I just and on our Discord server, I put the AK-47 on a picture of Aurelion Sol, and that was my
Jeez.
profile picture for a while. And
Damn.
yeah, I know,
Doesn't
like
sound too bad.
yeah, I know. I can sense that you want to leave the call right now, but yeah.
No, no, no.
No, I'm joking, by the way. Like basically, I love to play trolley, have fun. I'm not a
Yeah,
sweaty
yeah.
tryhard who's
Same, same,
gets
same.
toxic or stuff like that. I just want to have fun. Like even in Valorant, my favorite agent is Killjoy because I can play it like Teemo.
You play
Basically.
TFT at all?
TFT.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
actually,
play
I used
tactics?
to love TFT. Yeah, that was really fun.
Oh yeah, the new set came out. I think I'm pretty big into TFT.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about Runeterra? Legends of Runeterra.
Oh yeah, I played it during the beta, but didn't really play it since then. It's a great game.
Yeah, I know those games are like super, like that type of format of a game, like Hearthstone, Runeterra, Dota came with Artifact. They're super popular, but I never really enjoyed them that much. I don't know. Maybe it's because of my
Yeah.
attention span has gotten shorter, and I just like to play games that I can just quickly get a rush of dopamine out of, rather than like be
Yeah,
patient
yeah.
and strategize. But I don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to shit on the
They're not my
industry
type.
too much, but like Riot's actually such a great place to work for. Like the games they make are like amazing. I think they do a lot of um well, the thing is that their approach to game making is more like they're not trying to do anything innovative, but they do a really polished version of a existing game, right? Like Dota came out first, CS:GO came out first, Auto Chess came out first, Hearthstone came out first. But like I don't know, they're kind of like the Apple the of the gaming industry. They're not really trying to reinvent the wheel, but in terms of gameplay, they make it like really polished. And another thing that I really appreciate is that they really go out the way to create these like cinematics, music videos. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
really of
Oh yeah.
no like profit to them, really. Like it's just
Oh, it
driven
does.
by like
Trust
the
me,
love
it
of.
does a lot of profit to them.
I
Trust me.
mean, I'm sure it does, but then at the same time, like it feels like it's much more driven by the love of the art form, you know?
Yeah, and I think the only way they have been super successful is not necessarily the fan base or a lot of criticism is that the recent champion designs, it's all anime girls, it's like
Yeah.
Genshin Impact all over again. But no, honestly, I think the thing with Riot is they genuinely research the games and projects and anything they do in different multiple perspectives and point of views. They
Mm,
take everything into consideration, put them all together, and see the truth in between. And they apply it to the game and test it. They do it properly. They're not messing
yeah.
around. And of course, I mean, there's always people complaining about something new in League of Legends meta, but all in all, I think they're doing a fantastic job. Even I'm super honest, I'm super excited for their next two upcoming projects: the fighting game
Oh yeah,
and the
I'm
open
into
world.
huge fighting games.
They're going to bust out Mortal
Yeah,
Kombat, the Street Fighter out of the way, and also World of the Warcraft. They're
yeah,
literally
yeah,
taking over. And here's the
yeah,
thing:
yeah, yeah.
if they put all their budget right now, I mean, that's a kind of like a stupid bold statement. I mean, hypothetically, of course, I'm saying, if they put like most of their this year's budget into like a anime or like a Netflix series just based on the lore of
Yeah,
Valorant, they're gonna get their money's worth.
yeah,
Honestly.
yeah, yeah. But I also speaking of Valorant characters, I actually think they're not designed that well, to be honest. But it's a opinion, I guess. I think the one of the things that they really try to do is like have that like cultural like inclusiveness, but then I feel like a lot of the times the characters aren't doesn't feel like they feel really generic. Like like for example, Sage is supposed to be Chinese, but she just looks Asian. Um, I guess like I wish there was more like you could tell like I wish they were a little less generic and maybe a little more like evident and give them a little bit more personality. Um, yeah, because then the way they're trying to do this roster of characters with the different kind of like countries and languages, I think that's like a really great idea. But um, I just think it could be executed a little bit better.
Mm, that's an interesting point. Yeah. But all in all, I think it's still, they did a pretty good job. I mean,
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
what you're saying, but all in all, I think they did a good job.
yeah. I
Honestly.
think so. It's I guess it's kind of nitpicky, and it's also just an opinion. Yeah, I guess. Oh, yeah. One topic that kind of brought up before, and I think that was kind of interesting, is kind of the idea of the specialists versus the generalists. And I think there's actually like there's there's a there's a role for both in this world. But actually being I think if you're talking about like in terms of gaming, like in gaming terms, I think a generalist is a late game build and a specialist is an early game build. Because then actually,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So then I think, like for me, all I did was practice character design for like basically ever since I started drawing art. So then, like if you practice very hard, I think you can reach a professional level in any like discipline in about 3 to 5 years. I think at least that's my. I think if you have like good practice, like decent work ethic, um, but then you become kind of stuck in that industry. Like if you keep only doing, let's say, character design. But in order to kind of like build companies um, like outside of just gaming, like for example, Riot, like moving into music videos, like narrative and all that things, I think that requires kind of like a more requires. I don't think a specialist can do that. I think that's something a job for the generalists. Like they have a broader vision of kind of the significance of the like game in like relationship to I don't know like society and relationship to like other games, like things. I just think there's a lot of other like disciplines outside of I don't know just the art industry that involves art and being stuck in a single discipline is I think really limiting for your personal growth and artistic growth. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I mean, actually, one of the prime examples of what you said was another person I had on a podcast like a while back, Wouter Gort. He's kind of like a generalist as well, and he's like super good at it, at anything he does, he touches.
Yeah.
And yeah, I honestly believe that right now the metas will change, of course, in the future. I mean, right now, as you said, if the standard to reach professional and get into the industry as a junior is like 3 to 5 years, like on average, like in general. But I think things are going to change in the future. Like the meta will be that video game industries also require you to learn a broader, like set of skills when it comes to like in general getting into games and stuff like that. Maybe not just games, maybe movies and
Hmm.
animation projects, entertainment projects, basically as well. And like I think there will be like things is going to be so different even 10 years from now. Not sorry, not 10 years, 5 years.
Mm.
Like the metas it changes so much. Like it just compared 10 years ago, like wanting to get into game industry, it was much easier relatively than now. Like if you want to
Mm.
get into Riot, oh boy, you better be ready to just compete with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's going to get much more competitive, by the way. It's not going to get easier at all in any field.
Mm.
And that's not a bad thing, by the way. It just means
Yeah.
that we're just setting the bar higher.
Yeah, I think that's kind of industry. I think kids nowadays are getting like so good so quickly. I mean, I'm still a kid, like what I was saying, but like I see a lot of people who's younger than me that are just like kind of popping off. And then, but also at the same time, like a lot of studios are moving to remote, and then they're creating like a lot of. I think this didn't really happen before, but now they're just kind of exclusively like art studios. So they're not game companies, but they're
Art outsourcing.
yeah, they're basically art outsourcing, and they're like completely remote. So I don't know. A lot of artists. Um, I think there's going to be a lot of jobs in the future, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
of
yeah, it is
course.
going to be super competitive. Like people are getting really good really quickly nowadays.
Exactly. And all right, let me ask you something else because I was wondering, like, how does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a new project? Like, for example, the three portfolio pieces you did. What, like in general, what does the structure of your pipeline look like whenever you want to start working on a
Mm.
piece?
Um, it's kind of like for me, like I'm catering all my portfolio towards Riot essentially. Like so then that's a easy kind of like a, like it makes a job a lot easier. So you kind of like think about what you need, what the company's looking for. So then when you're building a portfolio, you should think about like kind of what you're trying to apply for and what are the things that you um, like the things you need to get in. But then looking at the individual characters, like Josh Sunga taught me this, is just like doing a lot of thumbnails. Like you don't want to discard any like stupid ideas. Like all your like a lot of times you can come back to it and make something like really unique. Like for me, the most important thing about design is like that uniqueness. Like how many times have we seen like a female assassin, right? Some skinny girl with like two blades, big ass blades, and in a bikini, something like that, right? It's like so generic. We've seen it a million times. Like, like what does it mean to like really push an idea? Like the idea, I think for me is the most important part about design. So then he taught me to like don't discard my thumbnails. Write down a lot of like keywords. Like what am I thinking of at the time? Like, and those words are gonna help like keep inspiring you and get you into like this flow. And the thing about like thumbnails is like really quick. It's really dirty. Like it's not precious. Like you can make like a shit ton, and I just do that. I make a shit ton of iterations, and I keep brainstorming. Like at first, it's gonna look very generic, and then as I keep doing rounds and rounds of it, it becomes more and more unique. I guess. Like the last thing I want from my design is for it to be like, oh, this reminds me of this and that. Like, of course, it's gonna remind you of something, but like, I want the first impression to be like, wow, that's really different from like what's been done before, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much.
But if you're talking about more specifically, I guess you could say like the design process goes from like thumbnail, like a lot of iterations, to refined iterations. Like you can see it on my art station, like maybe going from like 15 to 20 to down to like 3 to 5. That they're like more polished. You start to work out and flesh out stuff more, and then you move to the final money shot kind of. So that's about it.
Yeah. And well, in the stories I already mentioned, on the podcast page, in the stories, I said, if anyone has a question, it downs the time. And actually, someone put a question in,
Yeah.
which I'm gonna rate it. Basically, has the art IO asks, how did you manage to get to such a level in your art, even though you're just 20? I mean, I could have just listen, I could have just easily answered her answer, but it would be it's my job and my duty to whenever I ask this question, I would you know relate that question to the guest.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
all right, what's your answer?
I mean, I think a lot of people are gonna say like hard work, but then I think for me, it's like um, it gets a debate about like talent versus hard work, and also luck. I think talent and luck for me are like really big things, because then I started drawing very late, and then I'm also juggling like a very very busy schedule, um, and um, and art at the same time. So then like I'm like I draw every day. That's a given. Like you need, if you want to get good, you got to be very consistent. No, like 7 days a week. But I'm only doing 2 hours, about like 2 hours to maybe sometimes three, like probably less. It's like basically 1 to 3 hours every day, depending on when I get off my job, or like if there's any like other schoolwork I need to like finish first. So then like I think for most people, if they go on this like schedule, like they probably won't get like, I mean, they probably will, but like I think I'm talented in that way where I pick things up very quickly. So I can't really like I can't really discard that, because I know a lot of people who like really grinds out like hours and they're still struggling with some fundamentals. But consistent practice is one thing. You can't really ignore talent. I guess I'm kind of lucky in that way. But then actually, towards the start of university, I was actually on the very verge of quitting art because I just had no time at all. During first year university in person, it was so hard. Like trying to just like find the time to draw. Like literally no time. I'm like finishing all my work at like 12 and like 1 a.m. Architecture school. Like that shit's hard. And then the pandemic hit, and for most people, it was like a curse. But then for me, it was kind of a blessing because I found Brainstorm and all these like online resources, and I started doing classes, and that helped me out a lot. So then I think the key way to improvement is first consistent practice. At the beginning, you want to try out a lot of different things. Make it the most out of your first year. First year, you want to do, I don't know, illustration, anything you like. Just experiment with art, and then afterwards, you can maybe move into like pick a direction that you want to go if you're really trying to get in the industry. Um, do classes. Brainstorm classes are very helpful. The character design classes are great. Well, you gotta look at who's teaching it. Look at the teacher. See if the work is somebody that you like. Um, Afterwards, wait, I forgot one point. Yeah, I guess that's um, it, that's mostly it. I guess. I guess yeah. I think I'm not sure how well I answer that question. It's Yeah, I think honestly, class, like a lot of people pride themselves in being self-taught, and I'm not sure that that's always the best, um, like, best solution. Like, I know a lot of teachers like, oh, I like to let my students figure it out, but sometimes, a lot of times, if you just if you just know, if you're given the right answer and you know how to like approach it, I think it saves you a lot of time. Like you trying to like muddle and like retry something over and over versus a teacher who just gives you a paint over and tells you like what exactly is wrong with it. Like you just pick that up like right away. For me, that was like very very helpful. Um, like getting paint overs from people, yeah, I think that is the biggest thing. Like not from a friend like who's on the same level as you, like from someone who's actually at a professional level, like a real deal like artist that knows what they're talking about. That's like very very helpful. I think that's the fastest way to improve. Like also for me, I didn't really do studying at all. I hated studying, like doing like gesture drawings or whatever. I just kept doing designs and characters and stuff. So that's another thing. But everyone's got different ways of improving. So.
All right. I mean, but yeah, everyone does have a different way of like improving. But all in all, I think that's like given for every class. The teacher, I think in general should. I mean, of course, depends on the type of class it is. But they should check the homeworks and assignments and everything, and actually redraw like honest to point out the mistakes. I mean, that's actually a super good point. I mean, most instructors do that, but it's kind of like shame that some people don't. Uh,
Yeah. Actually, another thing that is like really hard to get out of without having a good teacher is like mental block. And I'm not talking about like art block, but then it's really easy to get stuck in a pattern where you draw the same thing over and over again and you don't know it. Like I see a lot
yeah.
of people's Instagram pages, they draw the same female characters but with different clothing, different weapons over and over again, and that's not really a great way to improve. I think that's what Josh helped me the most. Like I started diversifying because before I was really scared to draw a lot of my ideas because I was scared. I didn't know if I could execute it. But then he just like helped me to like kind of break that mental barrier and be like and like yes, you can draw these things, and even if it's like shitty sometimes, it's okay. Like we can work through that. So then I started drawing like creatures, like fucking robots and monsters and shit, and that is like immensely helpful for character design because um, not all the characters you're doing is going to be like human, and like part the human character doesn't have to have like all human parts, like you start to get these like creative influences from like even other sub disciplines within like concept art, that's big.
All right. And look, we talked about a lot of different artists like Gui Yang, Q Fang, and all these people. But I want to ask you now this: who are some of your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Hmm. Artists and designers,
Maybe
let's see.
just in general, people who inspired you the most in your art journey.
um yeah, that's actually a good question. Let me find. I'm on my iPad here. I got like folders.
Reference
I just gotta try to
folders.
find their name.
All
But
right.
then I think Josh Josh Sung is definitely really big on influence for me. Another guy is his name is Bahi JD. I'm not sure. He's an animator. Um, you need to look at his Tumblr. But then I talked to him in person in Japan one time, and he really just like he blew me away with like kind of this philosophy for art. Um, and what it means to be an artist. Like he's an animator. He's actually not even Japanese. He's like Austrian, but then he got really good when he was 18. Like insanely talented at 18. That he was hired to work in Japan. Like I think around the age of like 18, 20. Um, Let me find his original animation.
Wow, that's
It's
crazy.
oh like here. Let me send this. Like, can you believe this guy made this at 18? Like, fucking
Listen, I
insane.
mean, I'm not surprised anymore, but because here's the thing, there's this famous 3D artist right now, William Lundgren or something. He's 16 now, and he's doing feature super high level industry standard like animations and movies and like insane stuff. He's in the Blender community. He's super famous now. He was on the
Mm.
Enterprise podcast. Yeah, this generation is fucking crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but this guy. Oh, this guy is like. This is from like 10 years ago. Like this guy is like the animation kit is in 2010. Like he's an old guy now, but like his looseness with strokes with art and capturing movement, that's like really big for me. I originally um, like really creative concept artists like I guess I don't know like TB Choi, Q Fang. Those are big. I think when before I was really into uh, I think I'm not sure if I pronounced his name properly. Mahi Kusiera. Um, he did the like bunch of Ghost in the Shell stuff. Um, he's big into like 2D, 3D, and he kind of combines the two. So I'm really inspired from that kind of work, and also like Alberto Miago, like into Spider Verse,
Hmm.
The Witness, like the new Love, Death and Robot, like that kind of stuff. Jeez, like because then for me, there's actually a big difference between like what is art and what is design. I think concept art relates back to design, but then I guess there's some really blurry edges. Like for me, design is about creating for others, designing for an IP. It's really a selfless act. You're not really thinking about well, you are doing what you want, but there's really a component where you're kind of contributing to something that's like outside of yourself. But I think art a lot of times is just because I'm also really involved with like fine arts and that kind of community. You see a lot of that in like New York and in university, and that really has to do with like self-expression. And I think for me, like art is about the self, but design is really about the others. So that's the way I like to kind of think about these two subjects.
All right, that's actually an interesting perspective on the matter. And
Because I wouldn't really consider myself as an artist, but I like to say I'm more of a designer. You know?
no, good point. All right, so we've reached the final section and question of the podcast, which is called Final Words. All right, let me explain. Let me explain it in the terms of a scenario, all right? I mean, everyone who's listening to the podcast, consistently, they're kind of sick of this scenario, but I'm sorry, but, that's the best way to explain the situation. But all right, here it goes. Imagine you're in a spaceship, all right? In the orbit, all right? And
Okay.
you get trapped in a basically escape pod by accident, and you're going to be sent off to the space, and there's no way to stop the countdown that is like ticking down like in a couple of minutes, all right? And you realize, all right, there's no way to escape here, and I found like I can like access a voice recorder of the space, like the spaceship, to say my final words. And here those final words are to anyone who might be listening to this podcast in the future. So in that situation, like I know it's kind of crazy. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
So what are my final words to a stranger, essentially?
Yeah, exactly. It could be your last thing that could be even uttered by you.
um, don't try. That's it.
Don't try what?
Just don't try. I think there's a lot of people who like there's a lot of goal getters. Those people will always work hard, and there's people who slacks around, who's always just gonna slack around. I don't try to change anybody, and then whatever they, I don't know. That's kind of stupid. Maybe I'll think of something else. Can you edit that part out? That's cringe. I don't know.
No, no worries.
Some random podcaster, some dude. Let's see. Shit, that's a hard one. I don't really know. Maybe like don't take art too seriously. I think a lot of people like to get depressed about their drawing sucking, but like Picasso, not Picasso. Vincent Van Gogh didn't start drawing until he was 20. Like there's a time for everybody. You just gotta get lucky, and most of the time it's just luck anyways. Like yeah, like there's a lot of people better than me who didn't get the job. A lot of people worse than me who got the job. Like sometimes I get the job, I don't even know why. Like there's so many goals in life that you just can't control. I mean, I know I'm just 20, but like I feel like I'm learning this lesson very quickly. Like I get rejected all the time from studios or from from opportunities or whatever. But yeah, just let it happen. Don't try.
Yeah, that was like a nice answer. But here's the thing, like you had to struggle a bit to answer that, all right? But do you know why? Because you didn't have the answer prepared, and the answer you just gave me was the actual real answer that I wanted from you.
Yeah.
Because if you know the question beforehand, you would have thought about it. You would have just typed it nice, articulated it, and that's the raw answer I want out of people. That's why I don't give the questions beforehand.
That's good. That's good.
And here's the thing: I don't think that was cringe. You said you edited that, but I don't think honestly that was cringe. Listen, the past couple of episodes for the answer to this question, I heard examples of bring a second pair of underwear as answer, and I also heard don't put pineapple on pizza. So don't worry, your answer was definitely not cringe.
All right.
And
cool.
Yeah, so no worries about that. And yeah, thank you so much for coming by. Where can people contact you if they had any questions? Is your Instagram okay?
Oh yeah, just plug my Instagram at
All right.
Yonghao666. That's about it.
All right, awesome. And again, thanks again for coming by, and thank you to anyone who tuned in and listened to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, leave it down in the comments down below if there's any suggestions or critiques or anything. I'll check them out as always. And that's about it. Take care, everyone. Till next episode. Bye.